A story. Once upon a time, there was a grumpy fairy called Griselda. And Griselda was the grumpiest fairy that you could ever wish to meet, or indeed avoid meeting. One day, she was sat in her cottage, grumbling away to herself, and an elf popped his head round the door. "Hello," he said. "I'm Eric the elf, and I've heard that you're terribly grumpy."
"What's it to you?"
said Griselda. "Well, I just thought I might cheer you up a bit. Now, tell me, why is it you're so grumpy?"
"Well, it's very dark in here. Don't like the dark. Makes me miserable and grumpy."
"Ah," said Eric. "Well, why don't you step outside with me into the open air and see the sunshine streaming through the trees?"
"Give it a go then,"
said Griselda. So together they stepped outside the cottage. And it was a wonderful spring day with the sun shining, the bluest of skies. And Griselda said,
"Oh, look at that. I hate blue. Makes me miserable. Makes me feel blue. Oh, what an horrible sky. Oh, I feel so grumpy."
Eric looked at her and said, "Oh dear, well, that is disappointing. But tell me, Griselda, why are you so grumpy?"
"Well, I'm too hot, aren't I? Hate being hot and sweaty and uncomfortable. Oh, it's horrible."
"Well, I tell you what, because the sun is shining," said Eric, "why don't you slip your cloak off and see how that feels?"
"Yeah, all right, give it a go then."
And Griselda slipped her cloak off, which was a thick woolen coat which she'd been wearing since the winter, and stretched her arms and said,
"God, I don't know, I feel grumpy. Oh, I feel miserable now without my cloak. Oh, the wind's whipping round me, it is."
Well, there was barely a breath of wind. But Eric was a patient and kindly elf. He looked at her and said, "Tell me, Griselda, just why is it that you are so grumpy?"
"Well," she said, "my bones, they feel all stiff and I can't move and I just feel really uncomfortable."
"Well," said Eric, "why don't we take a little walk down to the brook and stretch your legs, and why don't you stretch out your wings and see how they feel?"
All right,"
said Griselda. And they walked quietly through the forest, listening out for all the birds singing, and Griselda stretched out her fairy wings, and Eric walked alongside her, chivying her along, pointing out all the different trees, all the different animals that they could see, and eventually they got down to the brook, and they'd stretched their legs good and proper. And Griselda said,
"God, I hate that brook. Listen to it, babbling away. Sounds like it's laughing at me."
"Oh dear," said Eric. "That is upsetting. But tell me, Griselda, why are you so grumpy?"
"Well," said Griselda, "that laughing of the brook, it reminds me that everybody laughs at me. Nobody wants to come near me. Nobody wants to be my friend. They all just turn the other way when they see me coming. They cross the street. They shut their doors. They hide behind the sofa when they see me walk past. And I'm not even a bad fairy, I'm a good fairy.
Well, said Eric, I wonder, maybe it is that people avoid you because you're grumpy, rather than that you're grumpy because people avoid you. So I tell you what, why don't we walk down to the village and you decide that you're going to be happy and bright and gay?
Well, give it a go,
said Griselda. And as they walked down to the village, a change came over Griselda, and she started to turn up the corners of her mouth and flutter her wings. And as they got to the village, the baker was coming the other way, and he saw Griselda, and he was just about to cross to the other side of the street, and he saw her smile. "Hello," said Griselda. "Oh, hello, Griselda," said the baker. "I've just made some new bread. Would you like some?" "Oh, well, yes, please," said Griselda. And they trotted along to the bakery, and he gave her some fresh bread. As they came out of the bakery, she ran into the grocer, and he was just about to shut the door of his shop, and Griselda gave a little smile, a little twinkly wave to him, and he left the door open, and he said, "Oh, Griselda, how nice to see you. Why don't you come in and have some of my nice fresh apples, for I know you used to like apples very much." "Oh, well, that's really awfully nice of you," said Griselda. And so it was for the rest of the day. Nobody crossed the street, nobody shut their door, nobody even hid behind their sofa, because Griselda had simply decided to be happy instead of grumpy. And she remembered that it was Eric who had encouraged her down this profitable path, and she went home with him and made him a delightful tea, which they ate together in great cheer and good humour. And of course, everybody lived happily ever after.